What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for all of your support. If you're new here, want to say welcome. Today we're going to be talking about freedom. And what is freedom? What does that look like in your everyday life? If you're in the US or you're in a country that's not, too oppressed by communism, you probably have a pretty decent idea of what freedom is, right? The freedom to say almost anything you want, the freedom to go almost anywhere you want. You go to the grocery store, you can pretty much buy whatever food you want. But what is freedom? What does that look like? A lot of people have a lot of different ideas, so let's dive into that. You see, a lot of people think freedom is going to be freedom from worry, right? If they just make enough money. And there is a little bit of truth to this, right? A wise man stores up for tomorrow. He makes money, he has things in reserve, right? And these are good things, especially if you have a family. You have to provide for these people, right? Even your immediate family, parents, maybe you have brothers or sisters. If you believe in God, your brothers and sisters in Christ, right? It's good to be able to provide for other people, but what if you feel trapped? What if you feel like you don't have a way out? Well, let's talk about that too, guys, because truthfully, a lot of people feel or think, they're free, yet they're trapped. They're trapped in their mind, they're trapped in their heart, their soul. They feel like they can't escape vices and they feel like they can't escape certain addictions. And I've been there and I want to help you guys out. I want to give you some hope today. So if you haven't already, go ahead and drop that like, hit the subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot more of these videos. But guys, when you are truly free, I believe being truly free is being free from anxiety, worry, and fear. And truthfully, I believe the only way to do this is to call out to Christ and ask Him to be the Lord of your life, to put your faith in Him, because through Him, you will find freedom. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, the Spirit, that is the most important thing, but obviously we're still human too, right? So what do? Well, one thing I would recommend to you guys, especially in today's day and age, is to get free from debt. Debt is one of the worst things that you can have in your life, guys. It's right up there with having, terrible health conditions. The reason is because you are in debt to somebody. If you guys have any experience with being in debt, or you're already in debt, then a lot of this is going to sound familiar. But guys, when you're in debt to people, credit card companies, even for your car, right? These things that we think are normal, they have a hold over us. The people you are in debt to are essentially your masters, because if you do not pay them, right, you miss so many payments, you're going to go to collections. If you don't make those payments, you might get arrested, right? You might go to prison. So you're not truly free if you're a slave to debt. And debt is always hanging over you until you pay it off, right? A lot of people bought into this lie. There was a very prosperous time in the late 2010s, right? From, I would say, around the 2014-15 mark up until around COVID hit in 2020. In that time period, and I'm guilty of this myself, a lot of people made bad financial choices because they thought that that was going to be the way things were for a long time. Now, not everybody, but a lot of people, right, made bad choices. And a lot of people lived at their means. A lot of people thought things were just going to keep getting better, and they got themselves into more and more debt because we have normalized debt, right? It's normal to have a bunch of credit cards. It's normal to have a loan for everything you own. The problem is what happens when the economy goes south and you're having to pay a bunch of extra money, interest, right? You lose your job. Prices of things go up, right? Foods, services, all these things have gone up by around 50% in the last few years, right? House prices through the roof. Car prices, again, all these things are expensive. But having debt in your life, guys, this is one of the biggest traps a lot of people fall into. You won't really be free until you get out of debt. I highly recommend you look into people like Dave Ramsey. I'm not saying he's the best at giving advice for, long-term investing and things like that, to each their own, but he is the guy when it comes to getting out of debt, right? It's a very good program. There's a lot of psychological things behind it, a lot of practical things behind it that do work, right? Once you pay off that first credit card or that first loan, you have that momentum. You can keep going. You see that it's possible. You see that it's easy, right? It's small wins. A lot of people still fall into this trap. You want to have the things that you can't have just yet, and a lot of people fall into the consumerism mindset, especially with the explosion of social media, wanting to be like everybody else. You want to have the nice car, the nice house. These things are not bad, but don't sell your soul for them. A lot of people are burdening themselves with unnecessary chains, with jobs that they're having to go against their morals and ethics for so that they can have a paycheck, right? Talks about this in another video, but got to be careful of jobs like sales, right? A lot of people, sales is big these days because at the end of the day, you need somebody to sell a product. But we live in a time where money, right, has lost its value a little bit over the last few years. So people are doing things for money that we've never really seen on such a grand scale before. People are selling their souls, they're selling their morals, they're selling themselves to make money. And this is a trap. Live at your means, find a stable lifestyle, right? If that means moving, you gotta move. If that means paying off debts, pay off your debts. I know it seems like, oh, I'm never gonna pay these debts off, but guys, if you really, really hunker down, you think about it, you can get out of debt. You have to cut out the unnecessary expenditures. You have to spend, less than what you make. And you got to put all that money towards your debt. And it's like a snowball, right? You're going to snowball yourself out of debt. So that's a big one, finances, guys. Let's talk about something else a lot of people find themselves trapped in, right? Let's talk about relationships, right? Or sexual vices. This is one of the biggest ones, especially for men. I know women too, but as a man, speaking to men, sexual chains are going to be the most destructive force in your life if you cannot free yourself from these things. If you don't turn from these ways, right? That could be pornography, that could be a promiscuous lifestyle, that could be simply revolving your life around women and what women think of you, right? A lot of men have fallen into this trap as well. They're grinding themselves into the ground just so women will pay them mind, right? Just so that they can have some attention for women, just so they can go on dates with women, just so they can sleep with women. A lot of guys' lives revolve around sex, right? If you've never had sex, if you've had sex, if you're currently with a woman, right? A lot of these guys, they find themselves in sexual chains. That's why there's so many guys out there who are in bad relationships or end up in a terrible situation down the road, either a divorce, either just a relationship that goes south and has, consequences, ramifications from it, right? Your name being smeared, your life up in flames. This is huge. And we don't talk about this enough, right? There's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of things being said out there that is just not right. So make sure you're out of these sexual chains, right? And the best way to do it, guys, Christ is going to show you the way. You have to walk with him. That's what I truly believe. But there's also the element that, okay, you have to turn away from these things actively. And to do that, the best thing you can do is submit yourself to God, right? Read Proverbs, it talks about submitting yourself to God, how he protects the upright, how he will show you the way, he'll show you wisdom and understanding, he will show you the paths of peace. And you'll end up finding out that these ways are better than what the world can give you, right? A lot of guys are running around trying to find a woman, their life is unbalanced, it's crazy, it's all over the place, and they live their whole life trying to find a woman, they're never happy. And the ironic thing is, when you start to live your own life, you start to follow God's will. A lot of women are gonna see that and go, whoa, like I wanna be a part of that guy's life. Then it's gonna be a lot easier. Some guys take the easy route and they just go after the money, they go after the fame, they go after the external things, and then they attract the shallow women, right? Again, we live in a world where things are starting to heavily revolve around money, around what you can bring to the table, the lifestyle, right? We become infatuated with our senses and pleasure, right? So Be true, be real. And I promise you're gonna find the right women. Seems like they're in scarcity, guys, but the thing is you're not gonna find them, you're normally not gonna find them on like the dating apps, the clubs, the bars, right? The parties. You're really not gonna find the long-term women, the wife material at these places. So keep that in mind, all right? The other thing I would highly recommend, this kind of goes back to the first point about debt, but find something that you can do on your own, right? And I know there's this big thing going around about, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. It's really not that, guys, but it's this mindset of being able to do your own thing. I've just said this before on other videos. If you are called to be a police officer, if that's just your bread and butter, if you're called to be a law enforcement and that's what you enjoy and love, do it. If you're called to be a nurse, right, work in the medical field, or an engineer or a postman, like all these different things, if you're called to do these things and you love them, great, right? There's nothing wrong with these things. But for, I would say, everybody else, right? This is a vast majority of people these days who don't know what they want to do in life, who don't know really what career they want to be in. They're just kind of working a job to pay the bills to get by. Most of these people would do so much better if they just invested a little bit of their time, just a little bit, every day into building something, building a brand for themselves, building an audience, right? And through this, you will get paid, right? Eventually. Might take years, might take 5, 10, maybe a little bit more time, but it's going to pay off eventually, right? Great example, YouTube, right? Some people takes 10 years to get to the point where they can provide a living for themselves just off of YouTube. Some people, they like to make things and sell them, right? That might take a long time. Some people, they want to make products, they want to open businesses, they want to get into real estate, they want to do all these things. A lot of people just don't end up doing it because they don't think it's possible, but it is possible if you just consistently, little by little, invest your time, invest your effort, invest yourself into it. The way I see it is most people these days, they're just working a job till they're 65, 70, until they can just retire, right? They're like, oh, that's just the way things are. And they're miserable. They don't like what they're doing. They don't like the people they're around. They don't like the vocation. They don't like it, right? So if you want to, excuse me, ooh, that was a good one. If you want to get somewhere that most people haven't been, or that most people want, you're probably going to have to do the things that most people aren't willing to do, right? Instead of coming home and watching Netflix for 4 hours, are you willing to invest? You don't have to invest all the 4 hours, but are you willing to invest a couple hours into something? And then on the weekends, maybe invest a little bit more time, right? Are you willing to do these things so that over time you can build something for yourself? Because a lot of these things, guys, they take time. It's just like a pro sports player. They might dedicate themselves to playing a sport or doing some martial art, right? For 5 years, 10 years before they, finally get to the point where they can make a good living off of their profession. But a lot of people, like I said, will take the easy way out. They'll take the stability, they'll take the security, and that's really what's stifling you. That's what's keeping you in chains, right? You're working for somebody, and that's not a bad thing, but at the end of the day, you're working for someone. So if you have an inkling, right? If you just have that inkling of, I just, this 9 to 5, this like everyday grind, it's really not for me. Find a way to segue your passion, find a way to segue that purpose, that call that you feel into something that you enjoy, that comes easy to you. It might not be an easy project or an easy process, but you'll learn, you'll get better, you'll grow from it. And even if you invest, let's say you invest years into something and then you realize, oh man, this is not for me, you can take that as a learning lesson. You can take those skills and pivot and apply it to something maybe in a similar field, right? So we can keep all these things in mind and we can learn to be free by thinking big, by thinking long term, right? Obviously there's going to be the small steps along the way, But these three things, guys, I truly believe if you dedicate yourself to getting out of debt, to freeing yourself from sexual chains and temptation, and to invest in yourself. And I really want to hammer that last part home, guys. Invest in yourself. Buy wisdom and do not sell it. It's a verse in Proverbs. Buy wisdom. If there is something out there, we live in this day and age where we think everything great should be free to us. We don't want to pay anything for it, right? I understand there's a lot of people out there who have ulterior motives. There's a lot of people who are like, people are just out there to get my money. But do your research, figure out it's a trustworthy product, course, whatever it might be, and invest something into that, guys. I'm telling you, if it's a life coach, if it's a product, or if it's like a blueprint or a course that's going to help you grow in knowledge and wisdom, yeah, at the end of the day, you could probably find all this stuff for free. If you dig enough, you could probably find it for free. But if you find somebody established who has a track record, who knows what they're doing, who can provide results, who has, the ratings and I don't want to say accolades, but the achievements to back it up, it might be worth investing. Now, I'm not saying go out there and invest $10,000 into something, right? A couple $100 into something, guys, it might change everything, right? To do all these things in life, think about it. If you want to get a job, right? This is just an example, but if you want to get a job, a lot of people, they'll go to a professional resume writer. They'll pay a couple $100 for that, right? They'll pay a couple $100 for a suit to wear to an interview that they might never wear again, right? They might pay a couple $100 to travel around and try to find a job. Well, probably costs a little bit more than that these days. But people will pay. You end up paying for things. You want to go pass the bar exam. You want to get these degrees. You want to get these licenses. You got to pay into them. It takes time. So figure out what it is that you actually want to do. Shut out the noise, man. Just shut out the noise. Your parents, they want what's best for you, I believe, most of the time, right? Your friends, close friends. But sometimes you got to shut all that out. You got to go, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? What do I want to do? What can I see myself doing? What can I do that will make the biggest impact? What gift am I given? Everybody has a gift. Everybody has something unique about them. Everybody can contribute in a way that is going to provide something for them. And that's really the best thing you can do for yourself, because at the end of the day, anybody can get a degree, anybody can, learn a skill, anybody can do these things, but to be able to provide for yourself, to be able to do all these things, to have that freedom, that's really the most important thing. And I'll end the video with this, guys. At the end of the day, there's going to be bumps in the road, right? There's going to be mountains you got to climb. There's got to be things that are going to seem impossible. There's going to come times where you don't think you're going to have a way out. If you guys haven't already, check out some of my past videos. I talk about this in a little bit more detail, but when I was at my lowest, when I had nothing going for me, when I was in redline and I couldn't afford anything, right? Paycheck away from living on the streets. No food. Didn't know if I was going to have enough money to put gas in the car. Guys, called out to Christ. He's always there for you. He will show you the way. A lot of people want to figure it out on their own. God blesses. He makes it rain on the just and the unjust. He blesses those whom he wills. But if you follow in his path, if you follow the goodness and mercy and righteousness, you will have freedom that surpasses all understanding, that will surpass your finances, right? We're told to pray for our daily bread. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know. A lot of people, they try to invest a lot of their money. They try to have a year's worth of savings. They try to have all these things. At the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. You might run out of money like that. There might be something in your life that comes up, a crisis. We might be in a depression tomorrow. We might lose it all, right? Get some terrible news. We never know what's going to happen. True freedom is in Christ. When you learn to rely on him for your daily bread, you'll start to see abundance. You'll start to see these things fall into place. You'll start to go, wow, why was I trying to do everything on my own? Christ is there. He's always been there. I just had to ask, right? He talks about how, he knows the birds in the sky. He knows the birds that fall out of the sky, right? How much more does he care about you? How much more? If you just call out to him, you just ask him, right? He's not a genie. He's not going to give you everything you want with the snap of your fingers, but he will show you the way. He will show you wisdom. It's there. You just got to ask for it. And that's where true freedom is found. And everything will come from it. Just like Christ said, seek first the kingdom of righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you. True wisdom, true peace, true freedom, true wealth, all comes through Christ. That's where all the good stuff comes from, guys. So hopefully made an impact on you today. If I have, hit that like button. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And Lord willing, I will see y'all in the next one.